I never thought something like this would happen to me, especially not on what was supposed to be one of the happiest nights of the year, our anniversary. Michelle and I had been together for over 10 years, and honestly, I thought we were solid. Sure, we'd had our fights, but I always figured that was normal. We had built a life, a home, a good career, and I genuinely believed she was happy with me. That night, I made plans to surprise her. I wanted to do something special, something that would make her smile and remind her why she fell for me in the first place. I booked a nice dinner, got her favorite flowers, and left a sweet little note on her pillow telling her how much I loved her and how I couldn't wait to celebrate our years together. I was feeling good, optimistic about us. I even stayed up late, looking forward to coming home to her, imagining her reaction when I showed up with a big grin and our favorite bottle of wine. But I noticed something was off early in the evening. She was acting weird when I called her before dinner. She was short, irritated even. She kept brushing me off, saying she was busy with work stuff, which wasn't unusual, but the tone of her voice or her quick, distracted responses just didn't sit right. She told me she was running late because of some last-minute thing at her office, and she'd be home in time to celebrate. I didn't push it, figuring maybe she was stressed or maybe she was just tired. But deep down, I started feeling a prick of doubt. When she finally walked in around 9:30 p.m., she looked flustered, her makeup slightly smudged, her hair a little disheveled. She threw herself into my arms with a quick kiss, but I could feel her tension. I didn't say anything at first, just took her in, trying to read her. We left for the restaurant, but she was distracted, looking at her phone more than she should have. I noticed she received a few texts that she quickly dismissed or deleted. The dinner was awkward. She kept checking her phone, making excuses about needing to take a work call, which I knew was BS because she hardly took calls during our date. She snapped at me a couple of times for little things, and I could see her eyes darting around like she was waiting for something or someone. Whatever it wasn't just regular anniversary nerves. Something was definitely wrong. I didn't want to ruin the night with paranoia, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. After dinner, she suggested we take a walk, and I agreed because I wanted to talk. As we strolled by the river, she suddenly got a text, looked at it, and her face went pale for a second. She quickly shoved her phone into her pocket, but I saw the flash of the message, something about meeting up and tonight. I froze, my stomach twisting. I wanted to ask her exactly what was going on, but I held back. I just looked at her and waited. She looked guilty, but she quickly masked it with her usual bitchy attitude, brushing it off as nothing and saying I was paranoid. That was the first big sign that I started questioning everything about her honesty. That moment by the river stayed with me all night. I kept replaying it in my head, trying to ignore the sinking feeling that I just uncovered something huge. Michelle was acting like she was hiding a secret, and her reaction to that text confirmed it. I didn't sleep much after we got home. Instead, I lay awake, watching her sleep, trying to read her face, trying to figure out if I was overthinking or if I should be worried. The next morning, things only got worse. I decided I couldn't just sit around and pretend everything was fine. I started noticing other things, her phone constantly being locked, her sudden vague excuses about her whereabouts, and she was definitely more irritable than usual. I even caught her deleting messages on social media. When I asked her about it, she shot me a cold, dismissive look and told me I was being paranoid. "You're overreacting, Mike," she said with that irritating smirk. "You always think the worst. It's just work, or I'm tired. You need to relax." But her words sounded hollow, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. What really pushed me over the edge was when I came home early from work one day. I was supposed to be out of town for a couple of days, but I got back 2 days early because I missed Michelle and wanted to surprise her. I thought maybe I'd find her waiting for me with a dinner or something. Instead, I found her in our bedroom, wearing that same provocative outfit she wore the night before, and there was a hotel key card on the bedside table. My heart stopped. I looked around, and there was her phone lying face down on the nightstand. I grabbed it, feeling like I was committing a crime myself, but I had to know. I unlocked it, and there it was, messages from her boss, James. They were flirty, not just professional. There were mentions of secrets, excited to see her tonight and finally have some real time alone. I saw plans to meet up later that evening and my stomach turned. The shock was overwhelming. I felt rage, betrayal, and heartbreak all at once. I wanted to yell, to scream, to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed to think carefully. I quietly backed out of the room, trying to process what I had just seen. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Was it just a one-time thing, or had she been lying to me for months? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, like my entire world was crumbling around me. Later that day, I decided I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. I waited until she was at work, then I carefully gathered all the evidence I had. Her texts, the hotel key, the messages from James. I printed out the screenshots and hid them where she wouldn't find them, just in case. When she got home, I was sitting on the couch, calm but furious. She walked in, saw my face, and immediately her attitude shifted. She tried to spin it, of course, claiming I was paranoid, accusing me of spying, saying I was making everything up because I was insecure. But the truth was staring her in the face, and she knew it. I asked her flat out, "Michelle, what's going on? Are you cheating on me?" Her eyes narrowed and she scoffed. "Oh, please, Mike, you're losing it. You're just jealous I get more attention at work. You're insecure, that's all." She kept denying, throwing out lies, but I saw the cracks. I saw her sweat, her trembling voice, and her frantic attempts to cover the truth. It hit me then that I wasn't just betrayed. I was completely blindsided by my own wife. That night, I felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. I was furious at her for betraying everything we built, and heartbroken because I realized the person I loved was a stranger. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it earlier, how I missed the signs. But deep down, I knew this was bigger than just a fling. It was a full-blown affair, and I had to decide what to do next. The betrayal cut me deep, but I also knew I'd have to confront her with everything and make some hard choices. After the confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My mind kept replaying her words, her lies, the texts, everything. Part of me wanted to believe she just made a mistake, that maybe it was a one-time thing and I could forgive her. But another, darker part knew that trust, once broken like this, is nearly impossible to repair. I spent the nights lying awake, trying to process what had happened, trying to figure out the right move. Michelle's attitude only got more defensive and bitchy. She started throwing in more lies, trying to downplay what I found, calling me insecure or jealous. "You're imagining things," she snapped when I brought up the messages. "You're just paranoid because I work late. Maybe you're the one cheating on me, huh?" That stung, her standing there, acting like the victim, trying to flip everything around. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I'd caught her red-handed. Her excuses didn't add up, and her behavior was exposing her guilt. I decided I needed to get some space, think things through. I told her I was going to stay at my brother's place for a few days. Hopping separation might clear my head. The last thing I wanted was to blow up everything on impulse, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house with her anymore. The betrayal had shattered whatever little trust we had left. I started researching ways to approach this, reading about infidelity, revenge, how to handle the aftermath. I wasn't planning anything crazy, at least not yet, but I knew I needed a plan, something to level the playing field. While I was away, I kept digging. I went through her emails, her social media, even set up a spyware app on her phone. I wanted to see if there was more to her story, that maybe she was hiding other things, other people. And sure enough, I found more. She was sneaking out nights, talking to this James guy constantly, making plans that sounded more than just work-related. The more I uncovered, the angrier I got. I was furious that she'd lied, that she'd betrayed not just me but everything we built together. I felt humiliated, betrayed, and deeply disappointed. The worst part was the emotional roller coaster. One minute I hated her, the next I felt so heartbroken I wanted to disappear. I'd always thought we had a real connection, that she loved me, that I was enough. Turns out I was just a fool. She had been hiding her true colors for months, maybe longer. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all of it? How did I not see the signs? I felt like a damn idiot, but I refused to let her see how much she was breaking me. I was trying to keep my dignity, planning my next move carefully. The decision to leave her was almost made for me, but I needed to be sure. I didn't want to be reckless or do something I'd regret later. So I stayed quiet for a few days, gathering all my evidence, making sure I knew exactly how deep her lies went. When I finally confronted her again, it was with all the facts, every message, every detail. Her reaction was priceless. She tried to deny everything at first, then broke down into tears and yelling fits. She accused me of spying, being controlling, and said I was the one who was unfaithful. That's when I knew she was beyond the point of recovery. At least for me. Honestly, I felt sick. Not just because of the affair, but because I realized how much she hated me, how she'd been planning to cheat on me behind my back while I was planning our future together. If I'd never checked that phone, I might have never known. That's the thing about betrayal. Sometimes the truth hits you like a punch to the gut when you least expect it. I didn't want her to get away with it, and I knew I had to do something about it. I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. After I laid everything out on the table with Michelle, her texts, her hotel key, all the evidence, I saw her eyes flicker with panic. She tried to spin it to tell me I was crazy, that James was just a business friend, that I was reading too much into it. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I felt that deep, boiling anger building up inside me. I remember her trying to cry, saying she was sorry, but I wasn't interested in her crocodile tears. I'd been played, lied to, and I wasn't going to pretend it was okay. Her reaction was pure defiance. She snapped at me, accusing me of being controlling, paranoid, insecure. "You're just jealous," she spat. "You don't know what you're talking about. I love you, and this is all just a misunderstanding." But I knew better. I knew her too well. She had been sneaking around, probably cheating on me for months, and now she was trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the crazy one. That's when I realized I had to make a choice, whether to forgive, to try and fix this, or to cut the cord. I decided I'd had enough. I told her I was done. The betrayal was too deep and I couldn't trust her anymore. I explained I needed some time alone to think about what I wanted and that I wouldn't be coming back home anytime soon. I told her to pack her things and leave, and she did, muttering under her breath, calling me names, trying to guilt-trip me into letting her stay. But I stood my ground. I didn't want her near me anymore. I felt like I was finally seeing her for who she really was, an unfaithful, manipulative bitch. The aftermath was a whirlwind. I moved out of the house a few days later, staying with my brother. I needed space, time to process everything. The pain was still there, but I was numb at the same time. I kept thinking about everything I'd lost, my trust, my marriage, the future we'd talked about. I felt like a fool for believing she loved me, for thinking we had something real. Now I knew she was nothing but a liar and a cheat. There was a strange sort of relief, too. As much as I hated what happened, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. I didn't have to be in that toxic environment anymore, constantly questioning her, doubting her words, feeling like I was walking on eggshells. I realized I deserved better. I deserved someone who didn't sneak around behind my back, who didn't lie and manipulate. In the days after, I started reflecting on what I'd learned. Trust, once broken like that, is nearly impossible to restore. And no matter how much you love someone, if they're willing to lie and cheat, it's better to cut your losses early than to keep living in denial. I know now that I should have seen the signs earlier, but I also learned that sometimes the truth hits you like a freight train and there's no going back. Looking back, I wish I could say I feel completely over it, but the truth is, I'm still hurting, still angry. But I'm also starting to accept that this wasn't my fault. I gave her my love, my trust, everything. And she threw it all away for a quick fling with her boss. The pain will fade, but the lesson will stay with me. Never ignore the warning signs, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself when someone crosses the line. I don't regret ending it. I just wish I'd seen sooner how toxic she really was. It's been a few weeks since I kicked Michelle out and moved out myself. Honestly, it's been a brutal ride, but I'm starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. The emotional roller coaster is still going. I won't lie. Sometimes I feel anger bubbling up again, especially when I think about all the time I lost, the trust I gave her, only to get betrayed in the worst way. Other times I just feel numb, like I'm trying to reassemble myself piece by piece. I've been talking to some friends trying to process everything. Some of them have gone through similar things, and they all tell me the same thing. It hurts like hell now, but it gets better with time. I've started focusing on myself, working out, reconnecting with old friends, even picking up some hobbies I'd neglected. I realized I'd been so focused on building a life with Michelle that I forgot about myself. Now, I'm trying to rebuild my confidence, my sense of worth. The hardest part is the trust issue. I keep wondering if I'll ever be able to trust someone again, or if I'll just become cynical and suspicious forever. But I keep telling myself that not everyone is like her. Maybe someday I'll find someone who values honesty, loyalty, and respect. For now, I'm just trying to survive, to heal. And honestly, I'm impressed with how strong I've been. I thought I'd fall apart, but I didn't. I faced the truth, and I'm still here. One thing I've learned the hard way is that women like Michelle don't change. She's still playing her victim, still lying, still trying to manipulate her way out of what she did. That realization is both a relief and a warning. Some people are just wired that way. I can't fix her, and I don't want to. The best thing I can do now is focus on myself. I'm not rushing into anything, just taking it one day at a time. The betrayal has definitely changed how I see relationships. I used to think that love and trust were enough to keep two people together. Now I see that honesty is the foundation. Without that, everything crumbles. I used to believe in forever, but now I believe in self-respect. If someone is willing to cheat, lie, and manipulate, they don't respect themselves, let alone me. That's a hard lesson, but I'm glad I finally learned it before I got more deeply involved with someone who might have done the same. I don't have all the answers yet, and I won't pretend I do. But I know I'm better off without her. I don't regret standing up for myself or calling her out. I just wish I'd seen her true colors earlier. Maybe I could have saved myself some pain, but what's done is done. Now I'm looking forward, trying to build a new life, one where I'm the priority, where I don't have to second-guess the person I'm with. Most importantly, I've realized that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived betrayal that would have crushed most people. And honestly, I'm proud of that. I'm not ready to jump into something new just yet, but I'm open to it. When the time is right, I'll find someone who values honesty as much as I do. Until then, I'll keep healing, keep rebuilding. This betrayal hurt, but it also opened my eyes. I'll never let anyone do that to me again. And I hope anyone reading this who's going through something similar learns that they're not alone and that they're stronger than they think. Looking back, I realized that what happened with Michelle changed me in ways I never expected. At first, I felt broken, humiliated, angry, and full of regret. But over time, I started to see it as a wake-up call. It's hard to admit, but I'm grateful I found out when I did. If I hadn't checked her phone, if I hadn't uncovered her lies, I might still be blindly walking around in a bubble of denial. That kind of betrayal eats away at your self-esteem. You start questioning everything, even your own judgment. So, in a twisted way, this whole nightmare forced me to confront my worth, to see that I deserve honesty and respect, just like anyone else. That's the biggest lesson I'll carry forward. No matter how much you love someone, you can't ignore the warning signs forever. If something doesn't feel right, if there are secret texts, sudden evasiveness, or excuses that don't add up, you owe it to yourself to look deeper. Trust is fragile, and once it's shattered, it's nearly impossible to get back. I realize now that I was naive for so long, believing that love alone could fix everything. But love isn't enough if it's one-sided or built on lies. Respect and loyalty are what really keep a relationship healthy. I also learned that revenge isn't always what you think it is. I didn't plan to hurt her, but I did want her to understand how much she'd betrayed me. Sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on, showing her that I don't need her anymore, that I can survive without her lies and manipulation. I refused to be her victim or her punching bag. The moment I decided to walk away, I felt a strange sense of freedom. Not the kind of freedom that comes from revenge, but the relief of finally reclaiming my dignity. And that's what I want anyone reading this to know. Don't stay in a relationship where you're constantly doubting, where your partner lies and cheats behind your back. You deserve better. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. If you find yourself in a situation like I was, don't be afraid to face the truth, even if it hurts. Because in the end, the truth sets you free. I learned that the hard way. Now I'm taking my time to heal, to rebuild my life on my own terms. I'm not rushing into anything new, but I'm open to the possibility of true love again someday. For now, I'll focus on myself, my happiness, and making sure I never get blindsided like this again. Betrayal leaves a scar, but it also gives you clarity. It shows you what you're really worth, and that's something I'll never forget. To anyone out there going through the same thing, just know you're not alone. It's okay to feel shattered for a while, but don't lose sight of your worth. Trust your instincts, listen to what your gut tells you, and never settle for less than you deserve. Because the right person will never lie, cheat, or manipulate you. And even when the world feels like it's falling apart, you'll find a way to stand back up. You always do.